So in this session, I'll discuss about the various types of buildings as per National Building Code. It is a very important topic from exam point of view. So there are different classifications for buildings as per National Building Code, and National Building Code NBC, it's an instrument providing guidelines. It's a national instrument providing guidelines for regulating the building construction activities across the country, and we will study in detail about National Building Code in the coming sessions. So, based on this NBC or National Building Code, buildings have been classified based on several criteria, that is, based on occupancy, based on height of building, based on fire resistance capacity, mode of load transfer, and the type of materials used for construction. So, the very first classification is based on occupancy. So, buildings have been classified from Group A to Group I. Group A is residential buildings, Group B is educational buildings, Group C institutional buildings, Group D assembly buildings, Group E business buildings, Group F mercantile buildings, Group G industrial buildings, Group H storage buildings, and Group I hazardous buildings. So first one is the Group A residential building. So buildings which are provided for lodging or rooming houses, okay, for more than for one or more family, or the buildings which are meant for normal residential purposes with or without cooking or dining or both the facilities. So examples mainly includes apartments, dormitories, private dwellings, skyscrapers, etc. Then Group B, educational buildings, that is buildings which are meant for school, college, or daycare centers, which are used for more than 8 hours per week, and it involves assembly for instruction, education, or recreation. Okay, so examples for educational buildings include school, college, daycare centers, which are working 8 hours per week. Then Group C, institutional buildings means these include any building or part of a building which is used for purposes like medical, any building or part of a building which are used for purposes like medical or other treatment or care of persons suffering from physical or mental illness, diseases, or infirmity. Then care of infants, aged persons, etc. So building which is meant for any medical or other treatment purposes, or for care of persons, or for the care of infants, etc. So examples includes hospitals, nursing homes, orphanages, then sanitariums, then mental hospitals, jail, prison, etc. Then Group D assembly building means any building or part of a building where group of people assemble or gather for amusement, recreation, social, religious, patriotic, civil, travel, and other similar purposes. For any of the purposes like amusement, recreation, social, religious, patriotic, or for travel purposes, the kind of building used comes under assembly building. So examples includes assembly halls, theaters, auditoriums, exhibition halls, gymnasiums, museums, then religious places like church, temple, mosque, then transit stations like airport, railway station, etc. So all those are examples for assembly buildings. Then business buildings means any building or part of a building which is used for the transaction of business. Any building or part of a building that is used for the transaction of business, for keeping of accounts, records, etc. Okay, and examples include courthouses and libraries. Group F mercantile building means any building or part of a building which is used for the display and sale of merchandise. That is, it can be shops, markets, stores, either wholesale or retail, and it can be banking and financial institutions, professional establishments of doctors, engineers, dentists, architects, etc. Okay, so buildings that are meant for the display and sale of merchandise, whether a wholesale or retail. So examples include shops, markets, shops, then financial and banking institutions and all. Then industrial buildings means any building or part of a building in which Products or materials of all kinds and properties are fabricated, assembled, or processed. Products are fabricated, assembled, and processed. Okay, so for any of these purpose, the kind of building is said to be an industrial building. So examples includes refineries, assembly plants, dry cleaning plants, laundries, laboratories, then sawmills, textile mills, etc. So all these are examples for industrial buildings. Then group H is storage building, that is a building or part of a building that is meant for the storage and sheltering of goods, okay, or merchandise, vehicle, or animal. So examples of such buildings include warehouses, cold storages, transit sheds, then garages, hangars, etc. Then the last classification is hazardous building. Group I stands for hazardous buildings. This group includes any building or part of a building which is used as storage, handling, manufacture, or processing of highly combustible or explosive materials, or for the products which produce poisonous fumes, or which are highly corrosive or toxic. Okay, so the buildings producing such kind of products, that is highly dangerous or hazardous products, which produces fumes or like corrosive acids, or like fumes or irritant gases, all those comes under hazardous building category. And this group also includes storage of chemicals like ammonia, chlorine, acetylene, then methyl oxide, etc. And also highly inflammable liquids, storage of hazardous and highly inflammable liquids and other materials, then manufacture of artificial flowers, synthetic leather, explosives, and all. Okay, so all these are hazardous buildings. Then based on the fire resistance capacity of the building, buildings have been classified into type 1, type 2, type 3, and type 4 construction. Type 1 construction is one in which all the structural components of the building are made of incombustible material, and the fire resistance capacity is for 4 hours. And type 2 construction means all the structural elements are made of incombustible material, and the fire resistance capacity is for 3 hours. And type 3 construction means all the exterior components, all the exterior structural components, and also the interior components except the inner walls are all made of incombustible material, and the fire resistance capacity is made of 2 hours. Okay, so all the exterior structural components and the inner walls are made of incombustible materials. The rest of the components are all made of combustible materials, and the fire resistance capacity is for 2 hours. Then type 4 construction, in which all the structural components, that is the load bearing walls, the roofs, the floors, the exterior walls, are all made of combustible materials, and the fire resistance capacity is for 1 hour. Okay, so these are the various classification based on the fire resistance capacity of building. Then based on the height of the building, two types are there, that is low rise and high rise building. Low rise building, if the height of the building is less than 15 meter, it is a low rise building, and if it is greater than 15 meter, high rise building. Then based on mode of load transfer, that is load bearing masonry building and framed building. Load bearing masonry building means the load of the in such a building, the load of the upper floor and the lower floor will be transferred to the foundation through masonry wall. Okay, so the load is getting transferred through masonry wall in load bearing masonry building. And in framed building, there is a framework of columns and beams, okay, which are designed to carry the load to the foundation. Then based on the materials used in the construction, the buildings have been classified as earthen building, thatched building, masonry building, wooden building, steel building, and RCC building. RCC building means reinforced cement concrete building. So based on that material used, these are the classifications. So altogether, based on occupancy, based on height, based on load of mode of load transfer, based on the fire resistance capacity of building, and based on the materials used in the construction, We have discussed the various classifications based on all these factors. Hope you understood this session. Thank you.